All right. Well, hello and welcome to the 104th episode of the Party Invite Show. My name is Tegan. Over here we have Vilos,
That's me.
and over here we have Sovereign Sid.
Hello.
Down below me, Kitty is on my lap. She really doesn't like it when I point. I think she thinks she's in trouble. I'm afraid to calm her down because I will get bitten. This is a vodcast, a video podcast. You can watch the video on YouTube or Spotify. But this is the three of us tonight. Chris cannot join us, but hopefully we'll see him here again soon. Yeah, we you guys know who we are, so I don't really have to introduce the show. But we are one part vodcast and one part game stream. Tonight's game is Vilos.
Ond?
Onde, Onde, a wonderful ambient sound game. It categorizes itself as a rhythm game. Have you played it before, Vilos?
Played through the entirety of it in one day and made a review video of it.
Okay,
Oh wow.
I thought that was that one. I knew it was that one or one that was very similar. We play a lot of rhythm games around here. The two of you especially. So I'll be excited to see that firsthand and chill out about it. But the reason we're playing that on the show today is that our party topic is all about sound ambiance, aural ambiance, if you will. We've been playing a bunch of games that have really good immersion through sound, whether that's the wind blowing through the trees or chickens in the background of Pentiment. But sound goes such a long way to immerse a player in an environment. So having played a lot of those recently, we wanted to dive headfirst into those as a team. But that'll be later in the show. We're going to kick things off with Blissin' Up. This is an opportunity to share something that made us smile in gaming or out of gaming or anywhere in between. If you want to tell us what you've been smiling about, tell us here in Twitch chat or tweet at us at Party Invite Show. But I will say we use a lot of Discord in our community, right? We use it to group up, to share news, to do all sorts of stuff. Our Discord's my favorite place on the whole internet. It's just a really positive place. But it can be really hard if you don't have a PC or if you don't happen to be sitting in front of your PC to hang out in Discord. Maybe you're chatting. Maybe you're playing a game in crossplay. Even Call of Duty or something, and you're forced to use the in-game voice chat of something. Or let's say you want to use Discord, but you're the knucklehead that's on PlayStation, and you have to put your phone on speakerphone. It's not great. It's not ideal. So this week, we finally saw the PS5 rollout of Discord natively on the console. Xbox has had it for a little while now. Nintendo will never get it. If Nintendo ever gets it, I will be shocked. Very shocked. But that's finally rolled out on PS5, which means more people than ever can connect to each other in an easy, like a one-stop shop kind of place. Like I really do love Discord. So to be able to wear only one pair of headphones while playing PlayStation and being on Discord at the same time, that sounds awesome. Because I've been that person, and I've also played with those people, and you can tell when someone's like on speakerphone, and it's rough for everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, that just came out this week, and I'm happy about that. I've been looking forward to that for a long, long time. So
I will
check it
say
out.
if Nintendo ever gets Discord, it's gonna be through their stinking app on their phone.
Yeah, yeah, and you'll need 3 different dongles that plug into each other through proprietary ports somehow.
I've never seen any kind of Splatoon kits for that because that was the way they advertised it, right? They're like, oh yeah, just plug into your phone to
Yeah,
your Switch, blah blah blah.
I
But
think
I've never
Japan
seen.
had one,
They
and we
do.
did get it. I think they
Well,
had
Japan gets
an
everything for
actual
Splatoon.
squiddy,
Like,
squiddy thing since you have to have the splitter.
yeah, that's what I was talking about. Man, Japan gets everything.
Japan's got cool stuff. Yeah, it's just it's a weird situation we've got with console. Like 3 years ago, all I wanted was crossplay, and now we pretty much have crossplay everywhere. There are examples where we're still not there yet, especially with indies, because that can be a little bit tougher. But we've made big long strides with that. So now we just need the communication to catch up. Oh, Sav, what are you doing? Oh, Kitty. Oh,
She's back.
oh, cute. Now, see, that's what we call video ambiance. All right, that's setting the stage. That's like your own Yule log back there. Um, yeah, maybe someday we've got a move coming up. I was telling you guys before the stream. And when we moved into my current place, I had really wanted to set up a kitty cam, like a full time kitty cam. It didn't work out. If this house had like reasonable plugins and has been updated since the 1960s, that would be great. But it hasn't. So maybe at our new place, we'll have a full blown kitty cam. Fingers crossed, because Lizzie and I have talked about that for years. It's top priority. But kitty cam on the way. You remember that?
Does this
Um,
place have central air? Oh, well, yeah, okay, that's fine. But can we have a kitty cam in it?
but
That's what we need.
can we have a kitty cam? I hope so.
Number one feature.
That's right. Well, that's it for me. Vilos, what's up, man?
Yeah, yeah. So I ordered a thing from GameStop, and it may or may not have been stolen, or the mail person doesn't know how to put it where it's supposed to
What
be.
did
I don't
FedEx
know.
deliver it? Because
Uh,
then you can just say goodbye.
no, see, this one was actually USPS, but the other thing I got this week did
Oh,
arrive, and I am so very happy because
hey,
it's finally here. Metroid Prime Remastered, and the second you open this up, it is a gorgeous game. Like, I am so happy that it's a legitimate remaster.
I love that
Like,
new game smell.
it that too. It does not feel, the little bit of it that I played. It does not feel like the GameCube game. Like, it is the GameCube game, but it's so shiny. It is
yeah,
so spectacularly new. I can't wait to get through it this weekend. It's gonna be most of what I play this weekend, I think.
hell yeah. We'll be playing Sons of the Forest, and then we're gonna hear Metroid sounds in the background. We're like,
Yes,
it's coming through over the walkie-talkie. We're like, wait a minute, who brought a GameCube? Or who brought their Switch on the island? That's too
just
good.
random Ridley screams like in the background and rockets flying. Yeah.
Oh, I lost all my gear. Wait, are you talking about which game now?
Okay,
I
let's
did
just
make a
attack them.
joke when we played
Mhm.
Sons of the Forest. I made a joke when we hit the ground that I was like, "Oh, this is like Metroid, where you have all your gear and then you crash, and you're like, oh no, we gotta wander around and find it all again. It's hidden behind
Gotta
bosses
get
and
the shine
caves."
spark.
Right. Oh, well, I'm excited for you. I know my brother is very hyped about that. Metroid Prime is one of his, well, Metroid's one of his favorite series, Metroid and Zelda. So um, he's as thrilled as you guys are that that was just ghost released and is now out in the public, out in the wild. So yeah, happy for you guys. That was a great trilogy. I'm gonna try to convince Lizzie to play that so I can watch it. Uh, I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna happen because Lizzie really likes narrative driven games, and Metroid, doesn't have any
I mean,
voices at
Prime is
all.
the closest, so
Yeah,
Well, if we don't count Other M, then yes, Prime is the closest.
yeah,
Because even though we didn't really like Other M, it was still narrative driven. So,
yeah,
it checked a
I
box.
guess.
Well, Sav, how about you? What's good?
well, a couple of things. So tomorrow is going to be Mario Day. For those who don't know, every March 10th is Mario Day. Hence the Mar 10 Mario Day. So clever, I know. Thanks, Nintendo.
Huh?
So I'm really excited about that because everybody on the internet is just gearing up to celebrate. We're gonna see like a lot of fan art, a bunch of like funny new footage, video clips from all of our favorite streamers and things like that. I just love when something like this happens in like the gaming universe because for like that one little moment, everyone is like on the same page of happiness and peace and fun and glory and all goodness. And then the next day we're all vitriolic again and all of our teammates are trash, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
So
right, right.
I'm really looking forward to that. See, I hope that we get another trailer for the Mario movie or some other announcement that has to do with like the theme park or something like that.
Oh, they've got,
Because I mean,
yeah,
they have to.
they
It's
have to.
Mario. They
They
It's
have
did the
to.
Mario
final
Day.
trailer on Twitter.
Wait, already today?
Yeah, today.
What? They got
Yeah,
to.
we got a notification on fucking the Party Invite Twitter and my own because I forgot that I clicked like a long time ago. But yeah, they sent out the notification today, like a couple hours ago, for the final trailer.
Is it Mario Day in Japan right now? I mean, I'm
Oh, you know what? That's
It,
probably the case.
it's
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, that's probably why.
yeah, it would have hit already.
checks out. Checks out.
Wait, you
Wait,
mean we're not the only country on the planet?
I always forget which time zones are ahead and behind us. Like I could look at a map and figure it out, but I always get everything mixed up. And like Nintendo's always so funny because their release stuff will be like, hell yeah, there's a Nintendo Direct at 6 a.m. Pacific. I'm like, Jiminy, are you serious? I can't wake up for that. Which I mean, I think if it's
You're
not 6
definitely closer
a.m.,
than we are.
it's like 7 a.m. I mean, most of the time, you guys like Vilos will be like, "Hey, we're gonna have a watch party. Let's have a watch party in Discord." And I look at the time and I'm like, "Bro, I wouldn't even have coffee in my hand yet."
6 a.m. sounds right because usually they do like when they do a Pokemon Presents or anything like that, it's at 8 in the morning
Mhm.
here. So I just sleep until noon and then stay off the internet until I watch it because like I used to wake up at 8 and then now I don't anymore because I like being functional human being. So
You're like, I used to wake up at 8 a.m., but those Nintendo Directs started coming out, and I said, "Nope, I'm a noon girl now." You know.
I took an arrow to the sleep. Other than that, there's an event coming here with a guest that we have featured on our very show in our earlier days.
Oh
Um,
hell yeah.
Mega Ran will be having a show next Tuesday on Pi Day because apparently he lost a bet, like a Super Bowl bet. And so he has to perform here. Like that's the condition is he has to perform here. I mean, I don't know if I would call that a loss. I mean, certainly isn't for me because I get to see him in person, so that's cool.
Right.
I think that's gonna be a lot of fun. When you posted that on Facebook, Tegan, I was just like, tickets. So I bought them immediately, like
Yeah,
so fast.
Mega Ran and Kadesh Flow, they're both great. I like them a lot. Kadesh
Yeah, I don't
Flow,
know anything about the other one, so I'm really excited to discover like what kind of sound that's gonna be.
oh, he's great. Yeah, he's super great. Kadesh Flow is the first concert I went to after the beginning of lockdown. So Chris works at the ship.
Yeah, yeah.
He doesn't hide that at all. So I'm not doxing him here. But Chris works at the ship here in Kansas City, and he's worked at Record Bar and other places. So he knows a whole bunch of musicians. So he was the one working the door, and may have booked the show. I don't know. He's always doing everything for those guys. But for that Kadesh concert with other people, a couple other artists, and that was rad. Like that was at a time when I just needed to be out with people, but that was hard because COVID, and everything was locked down and concerts had stopped. I mean, you couldn't go to a concert if you wanted to. So that was a really great show, and I ended up buying Kadesh's one of his albums there. I gave him $20. It was like a pay what you want kind of situation. So I gave him $20. I got a CD, which means that is the first CD. That is the only CD that I have bought in the past decade, almost the past 15 years. But it's good stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that means I'm in for a treat then.
Yeah, you are in for a treat. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. Well, hell yeah, excited for you. And I'll be interested to see how that goes. Then, if that's it for blissing up, let's talk about what we've been playing. Let's talk about some video games. What if we start with Sons of the Forest right off the bat, because that's the one we spent the most time playing as a group here. We played Sons of the Forest last Friday. We played it Friday night. The game supports up to 8 people, and we had 8 people. We had more than 8 people actually, but I haven't looked into if we can make a dedicated server to have more players. But the game was a whole lot of fun. The game came out about 2.5 weeks ago or so, but everybody pretty much went in blind. We avoided anything but the trailer for the game. We avoided reviews, like all the TikToks and stuff that we could, and articles and all this. So we went in blind. We didn't really know what to expect. But we had a really good time. We played into the wee hours of Friday. We played one other session on Saturday, maybe? One of those days. And then we're going to play again tomorrow. I think we're going to be full with 8 people again. But like I said, if you're somebody who would like to play, join our Discord. The link to that is discord.gg/partyinviteshow. Same suffix there as our Twitch handle here. A lot of good stuff. So I have played a lot of survival games with this community, like 5 or 6 or 7 of them maybe as a group. Survival games are a lot of fun, but the very best way to play them is to get in on day one while the game is brand new to everybody, and everyone knows equally little, right? Because games like this are all about discovery, and if you jump into a game where everyone is very knowledgeable except for you, that can be good if you're trying to learn very quickly, but it completely takes away that element of discovery from yourself. So to jump in on that day one, since we were all new, it was day one. Um, that's the best way to do it. So we had a whole lot of fun. So since I have played lots of these games before, I certainly have plenty to talk about. But Vilos, I want to hear what your thoughts are because you're not as into the survival genre as us masochists in our community. We play a lot of games that just destroy us physically and mentally. So I was excited when you wanted to jump on here because it allowed us to like in the game you end up splitting up and we were able to finagle a way to use Discord to use Discord chat as our proximity chat. So it was nice because Vilos went off on his own with 3 others, and I stayed over here with 3 others. So we kind of had our 2 separate groups. So we've chatted a little bit. Yeah, Vilos, just let us have it. Like, where were you going into this? Like, what were your expectations?
Yeah, for me, I was a big fan of the first game. I didn't play it. I always wanted to. It was just something that I held off because it was in early access for such a long time, and it was like I don't care that much. I'm gonna watch a shit ton of YouTube on it. I really did. I probably watched a solid like 10 hours of YouTube videos on it when it was like the first 6 months or so of its popularity of the first game. So I was instantly intrigued in this. The last survival game like this that I played was Savage Lands, and I've talked about that a little bit. But that was like I played that like a decade ago,
Yeah.
and it's got some similarities, and it was kind of the base of this whole generation of survival games, including early access games, because Savage Lands was in early access for like at least 4 years, and still is technically still not finished.
Yeah,
And so
early
when
access, man. That's so many survival games too. Like so many of them
yeah,
are like it came out 8 years ago and it's still in alpha. It's like, what are you talking about? Still in alpha?
Split game.
yeah,
7 days
and
to die.
so my expectations were I always wanted to play the forest. Let's go, right? And knowing that I had the gang available to me, that was that was killer. I knew that was going to be a fun time. I knew I would be playing it with people that were in the survival genre all the time, so I could do whatever the fuck I wanted, and I did.
Hell yeah.
So with that first night, um, that first night was just really trying to gain a little bit of my bearings in that world because it's so massive. Like
It's really big.
you know how many big games I play, and I mean the maps of Xenoblade, the maps of Breath of the Wild, like those are huge. Um, but this is like equally so, and you're traversing it strictly on foot as of right now. Uh, they did have they did have updates today. I don't know if you saw Tegan
I haven't
hang
looked at
glider.
any updates. Let him at me. Let me at him. Yeah,
Lay them on me?
there. I
There you
like
go.
that.
Yeah, okay.
Somewhere you can get a hang glider,
They just
and I
added
don't
that.
know where they just added that today. So
That's
I
got to
think
be up.
tomorrow's mission is getting the fucking hang glider.
Yeah, we're gonna
I
find the
want to
hang
see
glider.
like cannibals flying through the air on those things. Like paratroopers. You have to get them by eliminating them. So they're just like, oh, or whatever song cannibals make. That would be so
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, and Odysseus, definitely look at the hotfix stuff, the update stuff today because it was a huge. There was a whole thing on the Steam community. Uh, but yeah, I went into it just wanting to chill and get my bearings on this beautiful island. Suffice to say, for those of you that weren't there, I died the second I hit the water, and I still don't know exactly why that was because the whole point and it's changed now. It's changed since we started playing because when I recorded video for it earlier today, I was at the top of the mountain in the snow at the very beginning of the game. So when we
Oh,
dropped initially, we dropped on the main beach, which I
right.
thought was where everybody dropped, but that's not the case anymore. Um,
Indeed. I've got the picture up that you shared. Wish I could zoom in more on the fly here, but uh, you can see if I actually make this go full screen here. You can kind of see it. Vilos is way at the top of this mountain, and
Yeah.
that tiny little dot very far away is Deadpool building our house, our base at the original drop point on the map. I'll see if I can get a more blown up version of this on screen before we're done here. But like I said, we split up fairly early into the game. You have in-game walkie-talkies, which seem to have an unlimited range, but it's also the only way to talk to people. So even if you're standing a foot away from someone and you're facing each other, you have to bring your microphone up and talk that way, even though you're a foot from each other. So we what did we do? We split up because we were like, well, we can't use the walkie-talkie for all 8 of us. So Vilos goes way up into the mountains with 3 others, and I stay way down in the forest down there with 3 others. And we're talking to Discord, and every once in a while we pop on the walkie-talkies, and we're just like, hey, so you guys are like pretty far up there. They're just like, dude, there's a helicopter pad up here. There's found some tents. There's snow. I'm like, man, I'm down here like building a log cabin.
Well, the thing was that like we didn't want to be completely behind either, and so like as far as the groups went, it was very obvious that well, some of us wanted to forage, some of us wanted to build. I wanted to do any of those things, but I also wanted to like be able to survive because we really thought that it would be more of okay, I need to eat, I need to do this to keep my body good, you know.
Mhm.
Thankfully, at least before this latest hotfix, it wasn't like the biggest thing with this game is the quality of life features. I think because it's not out there to destroy you. The chance of failure is like the opportunities for failure are actually quite low. Like it's basically just if you're not fighting stuff, you're fine.
Yeah.
You can die in stupid ways, but generally you're not going to die of starvation like you would expect in
Well,
a survival
so
game.
I would compare Sons of the Forest the most to Valheim of any other survival game I've played. Valheim is certainly like another step in the relaxing direction because you have to seek out danger in Valheim 95% of the time. In this game, danger will come knocking, but like Valheim, even though there is a hunger and a health bar, um, if you're starving and thirsting to death, basically, you won't actually die. So the way that manifests in the game is that your stamina bar just gets low. You need to eat, sleep, and drink. And if you don't do any of those things, your stamina bar, so sprinting, chopping wood, swinging your weapons, um, you'll have a very low capacity to do those things. So not eating, even if you AFK or something, you're not just going to fall over dead like in a game like Don't Starve, or some other survival game. So it has this wonderful element to it of like eating is good, but if you just ignore that and just keep wandering around, especially if you have allies with you, you're probably going to be okay. Uh, Odysseus, I think, had played on their own server, on his own server, and essentially discovered that the single player version of this game is so much more difficult because if you go down, you have to reload a save. You don't just respawn at a nearby enemy camp tied up to a pole that you have to cut yourself down from, which is how multiplayer works. Or in multiplayer, if you go down, your friend just picks you back up after they kill whatever killed you. So easy, like low threat of death, and if you do die, it's not that bad. You know, like I said, you respawn nearby. You don't lose anything. You just respawn. You have to go pick up your pack and then run back to wherever you were. But there are no long-term penalties except maybe like your health. Your hunger bar is low. But whatever, that happens all the time. So um, it was nice for a game that has like cannibals, showing up and stalking you a lot. Pretty relaxing game, you know. More
Are there
relaxing than I expected.
are there any detriments to being hungry then, besides the fact that it's just another meter you have to manage, or like
I
what's
mean,
the
if your stamina bar is low, sprinting is tough. So if you don't want to fight, or actually if you do want to fight, you're not going to be able to fight very well. And the cannibals will show up, and there will be a lot of them, at
Yeah.
least at the point of the game that we're at. The game has a world state that advances, but I'm not sure what advances it. So what that means is, in a game like 7 Days to Die, the longer you survive, and the more I think it's the more blocks that you place in the world. So like the bigger base that you build, the world state advances, and the game uses that world state to determine how difficult it should be. So you have a big base. The game says, "Oh, these people are advanced. We'll upgrade the enemies," and they'll keep throwing crazier and crazier enemies at you. Um, as you build a bigger base. So I'm not exactly sure what it is in this game that advances that world state. I know I could look it up, but I don't want to. But certainly we've started to see some spooky things. Just some enemies that are like not just humans. They're doing some weird, creepy shit.
Do we need to get Solve the Game is the question.
Nope.
Uh,
Good on that.
The game's pretty cool.
Are you sure though?
We'll make it a sub goal. How about that?
Oh my gosh. If you'd actually play it, I mean, I would love to get you in on that. It's a really good time. I tell you what, let's bring up a couple of the things. I've got a couple clips here that we can just play as we're chatting. Vilos, you have written down the backpack as a quality of life update. The backpack in this game is one of my favorite inventory systems I think I've ever seen. It can be clunky, for sure. It's not optimal if you're trying to be efficient, but I love how even the backpack makes you feel immersed in this world. Let's see, where's my clip here?
Yeah, it's really funny. Like I don't really use the backpack, but it is there if you want to. It can make some things easier, but I mean, at the end of the day, like
that's the backpack. Oh wait, what did you?
No, that was a skin pouch.
That was a skin pouch, which is disgusting. You kill enemies and they drop a skin pouch, which is a purse, basically. It is a purse made of human skin with a zipper on it. So this is me. This is now a loot box stream because I'm opening my loot boxes. Ooh, some raw meat in there. Ooh, piece of candy. So I'm opening all these up because we've killed a ton of cannibals at this point. But look at this backpack. So this is a real type of backpack that exists in real life. That has a massive capacity to it. It just folds and folds and folds and folds. And this one, you can customize the LED lights. So you see those gray strips in between the yellow there. Those are LEDs. So when it gets dark out, you can turn that on and you can see better. But it really just gives cool ambiance to everything you're doing. And here's me just running around. I'm gonna let this play as we keep talking. But the backpack, you end up getting such a huge inventory. Yeah, it is like a $1,000 backpack. There's a reason that like normal people don't carry stuff around like that. You get such a huge inventory that to even see it, you have to turn your cursor to the side, and you have to wait for your character's head to turn to go look at that part of the backpack. So like I said, it's not like an efficient thing. It's hard to move really quickly in that backpack, but it really illustrates what it looks like when you have stuff laid out like that. Because this reminds me when we have a huge pile of stuff when we're about to go to a music festival, and you not only need to figure out like what you need, but you need to figure out how you're going to get it there, and what package you're going to put it in that you can access it in. Obviously, you would do the same thing if you were going hiking, but this would be a serious hiking trip if you were ever carrying something like this. But I just really was interested in the way they use the backpack. Like they could have done anything. They could have done a Resident Evil inventory system. They could have just put everything on a grid or a list, But it's little things like that make this world, it feels like you're actually in it. Like you're living the survival life. One thing that I was salty about at first, but now I like that they've done this is a game that has a thirst meter, but there's no water bottle. Almost any game like this gives you a water bottle you can fill up and you can sip from it as you walk around. This game does not have that. So at first I didn't like that, but now I like the gameplay loop that gives us because you actually need to know where a water source is. Most games don't care about that. You just fill up your, oh, you have a water bottle? Cool. I'm going to make 5 water bottles and I'm going to fill all of them up and I'm never going to need to worry about water.
Although there is an item, we just haven't gotten the stuff for it yet.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. It's definitely not something you can get in the beginning. So
is it like a water satchel made of like a stomach or something.
Probably.
I think there is a version that's also like that. Yeah.
If it was an
A
actual
Midas bottle.
a water bladder, but it's like actually a bladder.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh goodness. Gross. So yeah, there's just a lot to enjoy here, and we're gonna talk about the sound of this game later on in our party topic. Let me get one of my other ones on here, real quick. I wanted to, Vilas, you mentioned that some people wanted to forage, some people wanted to explore, some people wanted uh, to build bases. Well, that's me. I love building bases. So here I've got this footage of us building a cabin in the area that we first landed on the beach on. What we discovered on this is that the custom building is very shallow. You can build a rudimentary cabin, but you cannot customize it anything close to like Valheim or 7 Days or anything like that. So I was kind of grumpy about that for a little bit because I was really looking forward to building a cool house. You know how I do. Um, I would have been content to just build a house pretty much the whole stream while everybody else went off and explored and stuff, which was partially possible because we had multiple people streaming. So I want to shout out Odysseus and SJ here in chat. Go follow him on Twitch. He's streaming every day this month in March. We had Hot Rod and we had Deadpool both streaming their perspectives too. So it was great that we were able to bounce around and see a bunch of different versions of the same game and different approaches to it. But while the custom building was shallow, there were prefabs. There are pre-built structures like in Grounded, which I think, man, I mean, I just think this is one of the best things in modern survival games. You have a cabin or a treehouse, and you place a blueprint of it wherever you want. And then to build it, it says, hey, you need 30 logs. And so you need to chop down a tree, pick up the individual logs, which you have to throw on your shoulders. And then you walk up to the structure, and then you put them in there. And every piece of wood, you can actually see where it goes. It's not just a magical thing where it's like, this requires 30 logs, even though you can only see 10 of them, you know, because there are plenty of games that do stuff like that. It gives you this wonderful sense of like, oh, I'm actually building something here. I can see how this is supposed to work, and it's so much more satisfying to progress when you can see every little piece building up to become the final product. So, the beautiful thing about that is that prefab structures are so much more beginner friendly than custom building can be sometimes. So I really like that because you can just throw down, hey, I want to build a cabin, bing, and you go chop down a few trees and your cabin's done. There's a little more to it than that, but I really appreciated that. So here, Deadpool and I stacking up logs, because turns out to build a cabin you need to chop down the whole forest.
That was one of my favorite parts about it, though. Like, even though it has these quality of life things, it doesn't make these things like stupid fast. It's still, albeit technically still unrealistic because nobody wants to fucking do a 24-hour gameplay of just building half of a cabin. But
Yeah.
but it is
Oh, my character's on
very
fire.
nice
Oh,
in
that
the
happened.
zen way. Like you can just happily build all day until it's fucking nighttime if you want to, and it feels like time is passing pretty accurately. And we're just like, it's so funny that we fucking constantly talked about what time it was, even though technically we had a clock that we could look at, and
Yeah.
we're just like, oh man, like you said it a million times. It's like, oh, it looks like it's getting late in the day. It's like, Tegan, it's like 4 o'clock or
It's
whatever.
2 p.m.
Like,
Well, it must be. It's funny because in the game, like, it looks like it's fall, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't look like it's winter, not really. But the way the sun is at such an angle, and there's also a mountain that blocks the light a lot on this thing, that like the second the sun goes down, like as soon as it's past noon, it's just like, oh man, it's almost bedtime, and then you check the GPS and it's 2 p.m. You know, like, oh okay, I guess it's
Daylight savings time be like.
gonna be dark. Yeah, right. Um, so yeah, a lot of these games they really want you to play a little bit slower. Like I don't know if grind is the right word, but it really wants you to play in a way that is slow, where your progress happens in steps. You know, and even building these buildings, like you might build some of it now and then just go do something else and come back later and finish it. Or swap somebody, be like, hey, I've been building for a while. Can you trade me? I'm gonna go and chop wood, or I'm gonna go look in this cave over here, or whatever. There's just a lot to enjoy. You could also you have your buddy Kelvin, who can
Some people do.
yeah, well, some people do. Uh, you know, spoiler. Kelvin can die, and Kelvin died. Oops. We're pretty bummed about that. Kelvin was great. You can send him to go chop wood or catch fish or whatever. So if you, the player, just want to build, you can have him go and bring you all the wood, which is a wonderful mechanic to especially for single player, to be like, hey, I don't want to do all this by myself. Like, give me an experience that feels like I'm working with others, and it does. It doesn't feel too grindy, I felt. But you can see here, we've got this tent that's out here in our little base, and if everyone in the world sleeps at the same time, you can fast forward to the next day, which is great because when it's nighttime, boy, is it sure dangerous really fast. I'm working on some clips of us during each night where we're just like, oh God, everything's bad, go to sleep, everybody go to sleep. you know, there was one point where we were all split up all across this huge island, and like Deadpool was by himself. I think he was at this base that you can see in the video. Three of us were off. We built a treehouse way up in the hills, and then Vilos and crew were spread to the winds up in the mountain. I don't know. They were doing far away things, and
We found heaven, actually.
oh wow, paradise, huh? We tried to go to bed, but we misjudged how long it would take to set up our bedrolls and stuff. So the short of it is that we're like, hey, is everybody ready to go to bed? And everyone was like, yep, we're ready to go to bed. And so everyone else went to bed, and then the three of us up in the hills, everyone's like, guys, what's going on over there? And on our screens, it's just like, like we're getting attacked, like there are trees falling down. I keep stepping in the fire, so my feet are on fire. I mean, we are screaming. We are just panicking because it's pitch black. But then on the microphone, we're on the walkie-talkie, we're just like, just give us a minute. Like, it was absolute pandemonium, but then over the comms, we're just like, working on it. So we'll pick out some of those. I've got one clip where, in a classic survival video game moment, I walk up to a campfire that Hot Rod Jr. and Fuzzy Man Peach are cooking food at. And as I'm walking up, Fuzzy goes, oh, man, I did it again. I just ate the raw fish. I can't believe I did that. And I was like, oh, man, things that only happen in video games. Anyway, I'm just going to cook this fish. Oh, no, I ate the raw fish, too. Just like, oh, God.
I think everybody's nibbled on a few legs at this point, so...
Oh, yeah. I love Vilos, I think it was you that shared the patch notes from the day one patch that was like, now when you hotkey an arm or a leg, you will now equip it instead of eating it raw. What a patch note.
I love the animation though, because it feels like the first how when he's waving the arm, it feels like that when you do it, and it's so funny. It's fucked up, but it's great.
It is.
And then of course, presenting your trophies to your friends with just severed limbs, or heads even if you wanted to.
Right.
Shit gets weird sometimes.
It does. Oh man, I might. Oh, actually, you guys aren't going to have audio of this, but I'm pretty sure this is exactly when things were about to go really bad. You can see it gets very, very dark at night.
Whoever that is very old. My gosh.
Yeah, I think that was Hot Rod. You can't choose your character, which character you're playing. You just get a random one when you load up. So Hot Rod didn't even know he was an old man until we told him. Once again, video game things.
But anybody that's interested in this game, it does darkness better than just about any game I've ever seen, and that's saying a lot. I love all the Resident Evil games, and the 2 remake and 3 remake. They've got amazing lighting systems, but this is stellar. And there are moments where you literally cannot see an inch in front of you.
Yeah. And sometimes the cannibals will walk up and they'll just stare at you. They won't even attack or anything. They'll just look at you. And so at one point I was chopping a tree, and I chop it, and when the trees fall, and we yelled timber a few times because you have to. Them's the rules. But I would, because it looks really cool, so I would chop the tree, and then when it's about to fall, I would usually look up into the sky. So this time I chop. I look up into the sky, and I'm like, oh, that looks pretty. And then I look down, and standing within arm's length of me is a cannibal just staring at me. I just shouted, Um, oh, yeah, this is exact. Look, I already went down. I just got attacked by a cannibal. Yeah, it was a really good time. So if you'd like to play this, it's meant to be played with friends. We have a bunch of people who are playing it, and we could boot up. I'd be down to play in someone else's world for anyone who's bought the game but hasn't played it yet. Because this one is on my server, or I mean, I hosted it on my computer. I mean, so I can't. I'd be nervous to start a second one because then I couldn't have, It's like this is the kind of game the host has to be online to play. One of the great things that Grounded has in its 1.0 release was you could check a box and make the world available to anybody, regardless of who's online. So I'm hoping, since this is an early access game, there are plenty of things that can be polished a little bit. And if you're on the fence, just wait. The game will only get better.
Yeah, so many people have bought it. Like, it has the support already. Like,
yeah.
And this is also, like, a lot of early access stuff is out right now that's at least in the news and stuff. Kerbal Space Program 2 just came out in early access. And the opposite of this, where Sons of the Forest has a ton of players and a ton of positive reviews, Kerbal lost a bunch of players and has, like, mixed reviews now because, as far as I can tell, it seems like people just don't understand that early access means it's not done yet. And that you should temper your expectations. Some early access games are great, but if you're the kind of person who might play something and be mad about it, just don't play it yet. Like those people make me angry. Just wait a minute. Everything will be better.
You're very right, but at the same time, you get something like Sons of the Forest, and it's like, well, shit. Even if this is incomplete, like, you could put 100 hours into it and not feel bad about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying stay away, but it's like when I tell people not to pre-order something, don't pay for something you don't have in your hand yet. Well, don't play an early access game if you're not confident that you're going to like it, because you being upset about it is going to be bad for the health of the game, because the developers see that and other people see that, yeah, just don't do it. But Sons of the Forest is great. We're going to play it again tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to stream it on my point of view, so I'll probably point you to the other guys. I'm sure Odysseus will be streaming it as we play, so he'll probably be the main one. I try to funnel people too, but game's great. Game's a whole lot of fun. Go play it. Early access, is it 20 or 30? It might be 30.
$30, yeah.
Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth $30 to me. But that's the good stuff. Yeah, Vilos, I'm glad we were able to play that together. And I'm looking forward to discovering a bunch of stuff again. There's something about survival games that, it's like when you work together, your success is your team's success, and your team's success is your success. And so to, like, learn things together organically for the first time is really something special, and it only happens at the beginning of a game, when it's fresh to everybody. So go check that out. That's the best way to enjoy a survival game. So
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
Can you name your island or whatever?
No. You're landing on the island. Technically, the story of this game is that you are some security ops team or something. You're like a search and rescue ops team going to rescue these, like, billionaire people who presumably own the island. And we found one of them, kind of, and that's all I'll say about that. It's unclear really what's going on there, but we found one of them. But at first, when we jumped into this game, I thought it wouldn't have very much content, kind of like Raft didn't have very much content when it first came out. If you like the gameplay loop, yeah, you'll have fun, but there's not a lot there. But it seems like there's enough. Like, that island is fucking huge. It's huge. And there's all sorts of cool caves with things to discover in there and all this. Odysseus says there's a name for the island already, but no one remembers what it is. I sure don't.
I'm doing more spelunking tomorrow, by the way. That's my goal.
Yeah.
Since
we at the end of our Saturday stream, And I posted some pictures in our Facebook group. I might share those on the other socials. We found a big clearing, like a big clearing, in our second session over last weekend, where we're gonna set up our like good base because we've set up outposts all over the place, but now we found this huge clearing and we're really setting it up to be defensible, because we've been led to believe that there will be like big attacks. Um, as the game progresses, that like more tougher enemies will continue to show up. So we're gonna want defenses and all that. So we found that. So I'm gonna spend more time doing that, which is part of why I'm not gonna stream it, because while I love doing that, I have no idea how much fun that is to other people, especially if they could get a view like Odysseus, who's probably gonna be like do something crazy, you know. So yeah, well maybe we'll name the island. We'll open submissions. Sav, what would you name it? You're asking.
Well, I mean, I don't want to give away the name that I would name it because I don't know if I'm playing, and I don't know if y'all need to have that intellectual property
Oh,
feel free like that.
Wow.
if you're good at anything, don't do it for free. That's what they
Exactly, but definitely Pelagostos after the island from Pirates of the Caribbean 2.
say. Well, that's Sons of the Forest. We'll be talking about that. I'll talk about it some more next week. But you know, we've covered a lot. I mean, this is like, sure, I'll have more thoughts and stuff, but I mean, we've already spent a lot of time talking about it. Game's fun. Come play with us. Discord.gg/partyinvite show. Come play. We're nice. Sav, let's bounce over to you. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, since we're talking about early access games, why don't I go ahead and talk about the one that I've been playing a lot recently? It is called Leap, and it is like very much not the genre that we were just talking about. It's a high octane movement based FPS, which I've compared to basically saying like it's a love child between Tribes Ascend and Titanfall. Really, that's how I've been describing it to people. No Titans in it. There is a class called Titan, and I'll get to that later. But it's really fun, despite being kind of a mess right now.
Well, give me just 1 second.
Going to this game right now. It is in early access for $15. It's on sale. But I mean, it's an objective-based class shooter. So if you played one, you played them all. You know, there's the typical objectives like capture the hill and lockdown where you have to control 3 points and go domination, all that stuff. I haven't seen like a deathmatch mode. I'm not saying that there isn't one, but I haven't seen it. It's mostly just been objective play.
Okay.
And then there's a PvE element to it as well. So then that one is more like a wave-based survival
And
sort of
that's like
situation.
the thing right now, right? Is like to have games have these multiple like PvP and co-op modes. You know, that seems like
Well,
the new hotness, and I'm here for it.
cast a big net, catch lots of fish. Big net, wide net, large net. Get the fish, y'all. Like,
my net is 1 inch wide and a mile long. It's a really good net.
yeah. So, oh my gosh, this game is actually it's so pretty, but it's so unoptimized. Like, I had to lock it in NVIDIA to 30 frames per second just so that I could stream it at 60 frames per second, which
Oh
doesn't make any sense.
That was
no,
the
that's good.
saltiest I've heard you in a while too, playing that.
You say what?
That was the saltiest I've heard you in quite a while.
Yeah. Because, like, I don't have a potato computer by any means. And, I just got this lovely, wonderful Google Fiber internet that I would just love showing off to people. And then I played this new game, which I was super excited about because I saw the trailers. I was like, oh my God, this is like Tribison Jr. I need it. So I was already like super excited to play the game. And then I get in and I can't even play the game.
Oh, rip.
Well, on stream. I could play actually at max graphics and max frames and everything outside of OBS. But then once I started OBS, it was just like, who is chokehold? It just strangulated all the resources on my computer. And I don't know. I don't know why, but we figured out ways around it, after a little bit of troubleshooting. And it's good. You have your class bases, which basically you have your abilities that come with each class. Some of them are better than other things at, doing whatever they do. It's a class system. So there's like the all-arounders, which are called Pathfinders, and those are your basic, like, Soldier 76s who have
Yeah, why
like
didn't they name them all arounders? See?
I don't think it rolls off the tongue as well. Although it is funny because Pathfinder is the name of a class in this game, and then the class that I like to play, which is called Wraith, who's like a stealthy, invisible sniper kind of class. Both of those names are names of legends in Apex Legends. So, like, coincidence? I don't know. And then we have a Titan, class, and Titans are, the
Oh,
mechs from the Titanfall universe in which
which is
Apex Legends
Apex.
takes place. So, like, what's going on here?
And
And
to
then
be honest, the aesthetic of like crates in the desert and wow, it just rained missiles from the top like Bangalore Salt. So what's going
yeah,
on?
so all of the ultimates in the game, they're basically orbital strikes like that. So you've got missile strikes, air strikes. You have big old giant laser beams that come down. They're basically giant crowd control um, ultimates. But that's because this game can go up to 40 players. Ideally, that's what they're advertising. 20v20, TP team, and that's like the big draw is that it's large scale PvP, like objective based combat and all that stuff. Um,
And are there any AI in here or is it a mix?
There's bots, right? Actually, right now, it's mostly bots. The population is like surprisingly low for a game that just came out of early access. Or I think, is it out of early access? I think March 1st was the day it launched into early access, maybe out of closed alpha. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Okay. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds right.
Um, so like I said, it's on early access right now for $15. I think it's worth $15 in its current state. I don't think it would be worth $30, the normal early access price. Um, how it is now, just because of all of the hurdles and stuff that I've run into. However, a lot of the cons I feel like are overridden by the pros that it does get right. So movement in this game is just stellar. You can traverse the area around on like a hoverboard or even a big old robotic moose.
A robotic
A
moose?
robotic moose.
Who had that on their bingo card?
It's called the Boost Moose.
The boost moose.
And it's so cool. And as far as I can tell, everything in the game is purchasable through a currency you earn by playing the game. I haven't seen like a freemium currency. Of course, I didn't bother. I didn't look that hard, but I haven't seen anything freemium about it or pay to win. You do level up your classes so that you can unlock the weapons and different abilities and everything like that. But
You're
yeah,
really selling me on this game, Sav. Like I'm really interested in this.
I think it's so much fun, and that's why I wanted to get it in front of people, even throughout all the stuff that I ran into, like the graphical nonsense and the servers being kind of not populated. But I think the underpopulation is kind of helpful, especially to players who haven't had access to the closed alpha, because the people who have had access to the closed alpha are already good at this game. Like this game is going to have a very wide skill margin just because it is movement based. You've got like the hoverboards and the moves, and you've got the grappling hooks, which are by default. You don't have to pick them up like in Halo. You have a grappling hook by default,
Hell
which has a
yeah.
very low cooldown. And getting used to it, it's not like Widowmaker's cooldown or hookshot where it's like momentum based. It is kind of more like Halo's hookshot, and where you stick it out there, and then you are pulled to the location. You don't like swing to the location; you pull.
It does look like it has a little bit of jank, but
It's a little bit, but you can also influence with your jetpack thrusters. Instead of a
yeah.
dash in this game or a run, you don't run. You have two dash thrusts that you can use. So lots of ways to move about, which I think, like I said, is one of the games or one of the things that does get right. But back to my point about the underpopulation being helpful is that it allows the people who are just now getting into the game to learn the maps because as a 20v20 game, the maps are very large. So, learning the best way to move about them, learning where all the key points are or they can be, and things like that, different kind of hazards are there if there are any. It's really good, I think. And if you do want to play against people, there's like a custom server browser that they can do. Um, you have the different modes and everything. There are custom modes that people have made, and for a game to be in early access, and have a server browser like that. I mean, Overwatch didn't get that until 2 came out. You know what I mean? Well,
Yeah.
just about. I mean, it was
Yeah,
on the very,
almost.
very sunset end of Overwatch 1.
Yeah.
And that's like a big old AAA title, you know? So
Yeah.
I think that's really cool, and I've seen some really neat custom modes in that.
Well, this seems cool. So when I'm looking at this, like I see elements of obviously Apex, like you mentioned, um, but even like this map. Now that I'm really looking at it, zoomed out, the desert industrial stuff actually reminds me of PlanetSide, which is a game that we brought up again the other day uh, as like a cool game that we tried as a group for a minute, and I'm never going to play that game again. It's just there's nothing there for me anymore. It only rewards people who've been playing the game for 10 years already. Um, So to be able to jump into a world like this where the creators look like they've clearly played all of these games that we're interested in, this seems rad. And then also the element of like shooting all these bots and stuff kind of reminds me of Gunfire Reborn, which while a totally different genre, it is a co-op shooter. And if you think of the PvP as co-op instead of this would be PvP maybe if they weren't bots filling all the spots, but it seems like it's going to scratch that same itch. And I mean, I'm absolutely willing to give this a shot. Like I don't need to know anything else besides the price, or if it I think I'm ready to jump in.
Yeah, I mean,
I
like I
think I'm
said, it's
ready
been
to leap in. Oh,
do we have a pun counter yet? I feel like we need one.
we'll work on it. Yeah, it's in early access actually.
It's a
What's up, Fuzzy and Chief? Oh yeah, Fuzzy and Odysseus. Yeah, they're keeping it down there. Oh, I just appreciate that. These dad jokes get the reception that they deserve.
But yeah, I think it's really good. It's a lot of fun. There are some problems, but of course, like you said earlier, people need to understand that it is in early access and there's a lot of iterations that we can expect to go through to see improvements on.
Yeah,
So just be sure to optimize the game for your computer's specs. That's the only thing, that's the only big warning that I have because if you're streaming this game and playing this game, you have to take into account the resource allocation because it is just not optimized at all.
yeah.
And there, like I said, there have been people playing since the closed beta or alpha or whatever, but I've never really felt like overwhelmed by player skill. I've more so often felt overwhelmed by there's so much happening all the time that it's hard to like gain my bearings sometimes because I'll spawn into the map and then I'll be like, okay, I'll determine where I want to go. And then suddenly I'm like swarmed by people because it's 20v20. You know what I mean? And so there are times at which I feel like I can't get anything done edgewise, but those I think are balanced by the success I do feel when I'm able to like go on like a kill streak or we win like very clutch moment or things like that. I mean, standard PvP fare. So.
Well, right on. Well, before we talk about more PvP fare that I see you've got listed, I want to bounce real quick between the stuff that I played on Monday. On Mondays, I play, this time will be different, a feature about roguelikes and run-based games where I pretty much lose most of the time. At least that's the plan anyway. I mean, most of these games are designed for you to fail a whole lot before you succeed. So last week I played FTL and had a really good run going. And I had been hoping to have a really successful run on this week's stream. That did not happen. Certainly, the run came to an end, just not the way that I wanted it to. So, you guys are about to see this footage of me making just a big old mistake. In FTL, I talked about it last week, but in FTL, you are in the world map and you're trying to go forward, which in this game is to the right. You'll see the map pop up in a second. I essentially made a mistake where I had to backtrack and go into the red zone of my map, where the rebel fleet, the strongest enemies in the game, yeah, you see right here. Oh shoot! Well, I'm not gonna be able to go back. Whatever. The rebel fleet has reached the spot that I'm in now, which means there's going to be a really, really hard fight that you're really just supposed to escape. You're not supposed to fight. One of the incentives that they have to not fight the battle, which I had forgotten until I actually won the battle, which is very difficult and takes a long time, is that when you defeat this rebel ship, you basically get no loot. You get one bit of fuel, which is nothing. You don't get any credits. You don't get any missiles or drone parts or anything special. The game wants you to skip ahead. Well, I did not do that because I was like, oh man, I'm a tough guy. I think I could do this. Well, this rebel ship didn't kill me, but I never survived from it. It beat me up so badly that I was limping through the rest of my run for, I don't know, 30 more minutes, maybe a little longer. And I just never recovered because this game is you go through zones. You milk those zones for all the resources you can possibly get before you go to the next one. But because I was so beaten up by this battle, I was constantly just trying to survive another day, and I wasn't able to milk the galaxy for for any of its resources. So eventually, I just got super wiped out. And in fact, the killing blow that blew me up, I didn't even see it coming because I was so focused on dying in one specific way that I didn't realize my entire ship was about to blow up. But yeah, the run did not go our way. Let's see. Let's watch my health bar just go down if I scrub forward. Yeah, you can kind of see it. Yeah, I just got riggedy wrecked. It didn't go well. So, what I've decided I'm going to do on stream, because I don't do a very good job of keeping to a structure on my streams. I kind of try to, but then I just abandon the ship. I just abandon my rules when I get tired of them. So, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep bringing games into the rotation until I win them on stream, which is important. I've beaten FTL exactly one time, but I want to beat it on stream now. And then once I do it, I'll put it out of the rotation. We can revisit it later, but I can check it, check the box off. Well, this game's really hard, so I'm not sure when I'm going to beat it again. But we're going to take a break from that one in a few weeks. Yeah, you could just see my health bar in the top right here. Just going down. Hey, I defeated the ship, but yeah, look. Oh, I only got one piece of fuel. Oh, look. Yeah, man, you can just see the look on my face. I'm really thrilled about all of that. Yeah, so that was FTL. I got my butt kicked eventually, so I quit playing that. And I moved over to Overwhelm, which was really fucking overwhelming. I started to get pretty mad, actually. The game has some things here. I'll bring up this one now. The game is all, if you have 3 lives, you die in one hit, you've got to kill all the bosses in one run. And when you do, is this playing in fast motion? There's no way this is not playing in fast motion.
Yeah, it's a little bit fast. I will say I commend you on the confidence, because you did say you thought you'd have it in what, like 2 or 3
Yeah, I
playthroughs,
really
think?
did. I really thought I did. It says it's playing in 1.0 speed. Well, now maybe it looks normal, but yeah, I really thought I could do it, but it gave me a lot of trouble. So I'm not even sure if I'll beat it in the next session even. I think if I played this like a normal gamer and I just kept playing instead of like stopping to wait another week before I play, or a week or more, I think I could beat it more quickly. But the thing that frustrated me this time was that when you defeat a boss, all of the regular enemies that you see me fighting on screen, all of them get stronger. Usually it means that there are additional special enemies, but the normal enemies remain unchanged. But I kept noticing there were enemies that I would shoot, and you could see the animation happening of me making contact. I hit them, and then they wouldn't die. So I would run into them by accident, expecting that they would die when I shot them. So that was frustrating because I couldn't tell if that was a glitch or if that was an intended part of the game. Because the game's made to be difficult, but it doesn't feel good when it feels like I can't understand the limitations of the game. Another thing is like enemies can see you wherever you are on the screen, but your frame of vision is so small. So like there can be enemies above you on ledges that will jump down and land on you, and you didn't even know there was an enemy up there. So the enemy will just jump down and land on you, and you die in one hit. So that was frustrating. And then the boss, one of the bosses, actually it's this one coming up. Yeah, you'll see it in a moment. Is this Kraken boss? I'll move forward a tiny bit. This octopus giant squid thing, just like all the other bosses, it teleports around as you deal damage to it. But in one of these instances, it teleported to a spot that I couldn't have possibly escaped. So, when they teleport, your screen goes black for a moment, and you don't know where they're going to reappear. So he just reappeared next to me and then one-shotted me, and I was like, man, that doesn't feel good. Like, it feels completely unavoidable. And the whole reason I come to roguelikes is like, yeah, there's a high chance of bullshit happening, but you should be able to manage it. You should be able to handle it. In fact, this might be... I think this is exactly where it gets me. Yeah, there was no possible way that I could have avoided the squid. No possible way. So, yeah, I got really frustrated. So I played like the end of this run or maybe one more, and I just set it down because as soon as I start to get mad, I just have to quit because I'm only going to get worse.
What's the max number of bosses that you've gotten through with those 3 lives?
3, which I did this week. So I did make the most progress I've ever made, but are there 5 or 6? Let's see, I could find out. Yeah, there are either 5 or 6 in here. But yeah, I just got my butt kicked, man. So I played that, and then I ended up going over to let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bosses there are. So yeah, I don't know. We'll get them next time. I know I can beat the game, but the whole point of that feature is to like keep my cool, and I was not keeping my cool, so I knew I needed to switch games. Overwhelmed is cool though. It's simple. It's called Overwhelm, so like, what do you expect? Like I did it to myself, so nobody can really feel sympathy for me. But I skipped over to Lonely Mountain Downhill. Super fun game. We tried a new map. Oh yeah, I found my first area in the game where I could rest. But yeah, I wiped out a ton in this game. So this isn't a roguelike, but it's a run-based game. It's like the old Trials games. You're cycling and you try not to wipe out. That's it. There are time trials or challenges to like not wipe out. To not have very many crashes before the end of the race or whatever. But it's cool that it has like a very nice aesthetic to it, where it's beautiful, even though there are like not a lot of polygons and stuff. Let me full screen this. I'm just really enjoying this game. I got an achievement for discovering that you could just take a break at certain spots in the map, and it goes into the cinematic view, which I've never seen before. But here's me just vibing. You know how I do.
I didn't know that they had spots that were that far, like literally off the beaten path.
Yeah, this was my first time doing this desert map, and this one really went out of its way to show you like long, extensive sideways, like trails way off the beaten path. The game has all sorts of like halfway hidden shortcuts, but this level had pretty obvious ones where you're like, hey, just go up on this cliff, and you can just ride it for a long time, and eventually it'll connect back to the main road. But this game's cool. Another one on Game Pass, Lonely Mountains, Downhill. Long name. But a fun game, and it has daily challenges and stuff. And so, yeah, Deadpool, I did get you into that one. I think Hot Rod got into that one too. We got a few people in there. If we had enough people to go back and do the daily challenges again, that would be a really fun way, I think, to kind of. Oh yeah, look at this! I forgot I wiped out the moment I hit unpause. Oh my god, let's get a replay of this.
Literally 2 feet away, dude.
I'm like, wow, I'm chilling. Everything's great. Gosh, so relaxing. Oh man. Okay, back to it. And oops.
What the heck?
That's how the news goes. But yeah, if we did daily challenges, what I would love to see is some people kind of like record their one daily run and then share them with everybody. And so like after everybody shared them, you can kind of see, all the different ways that it's possible to complete a map. Because one person might just zoom on the main path as fast as possible. Someone might, use an off-road bike to kind of take some pretty risky shortcuts, where someone else might just find like shortcuts that none of us have even seen before. And then here's me trying to go down the mountain without pedaling. It worked for a moment. I had to abandon that challenge really quick, but anyway, game was cool. You've heard me talk about enough for these games now, so I'll be done. But really enjoyed playing all that stuff. Come join me on Mondays. Mondays around 7:00 Pacific, my time, so 9:00 Central. That's a ballpark. I usually don't go live the same time every night, but come hang out with me. I love doing that, and we have lots of other games on deck. I've been playing a lot of familiar ones lately, so I'm looking forward to picking up some more new ones like Brotato, which Shanny Pack gifted to me, among others. So come hang out. Okay, then Sav, we've got one last one from you.
Yeah. speaking of people within our community, i.e. Shani, we all got together and played some Overwatch 2
Oh hell yeah!
the other night, and it was kind of like a spur of the moment thing, but I'm glad that we did because this game is just so much fun to play with friends, and I think that's the only way I could actually enjoy playing this game, just because the community that we have is just always a lot of fun to play with, and there's always someone willing to put a group together and play. So, who was it all? It was me, you, and Shani and Cram, and
Fuzzy maybe.
Odysseus
oh,
or
Adam.
Fuzzy maybe.
Well, no, not this time around. Not the time I'm talking about. But my friend Adam got in there, um, and then later on we played with my friend Tony. Oh, yeah, that's right. You did join after he left. That's right. I mean, it was a good time. It was good. It
Yeah,
was a
it's
lot of
always a good time.
We learned about some new modes in the custom list,
Oh
which I
hell
mean,
yeah!
there's so many mercy parkour ones now. And I think those are so much fun just because I like the challenge of like being able to overcome the stupid, difficult things that you can do with her freaking glide jump, all that whatnot.
Mhm.
But I didn't realize, like, I learned so much from that because I don't realize exactly how that functions mechanically. I just know that, press shift, glide person. That's it.
Yep.
There are so many things that you can do out of that. It's almost like discovering like new Smash tech where it's just like, oh, well, we know fundamentally at a base point how this works, but then how can we exploit that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, those custom games are what taught me how to use Mercy's new kit in Overwatch 2 because I didn't even know she had an updated ability or anything. And then I think Odysseus was the first one who was just like, "Hey, check out this mode." I was like, "Are you serious?" And so using that goofy custom mode, the parkour, where like for anyone who's not played Overwatch, Mercy is a support character who can like essentially latch onto someone with her healing or damage beam, and she can like glide, she can like slow fall, but she can also charge, like fly at the person she's attached to, and based on how far she traveled, she can use that momentum to shoot herself very far in whatever chosen direction. So yeah, it was good practice, but it was also a surprise to me where I was like, oh damn, this is a fun way to get better at the game instead of spending time in training mode, you know?
It's fun educational. But I mean, Mercy's not the only one with some parkour levers. I know there's some Lucio ones, some Genji ones. So, I mean, and both of those characters are very like traversal heavy, and knowing how to use the different ways that they can travel the map is really, important to getting better with that character. So I like that people have been inventive and creative enough to make these kinds of modes to teach people how to better utilize those mechanics. But then there are like some really fun like party nonsense modes like 12 hogs one hole in which you can, you're all roadhogs and you're at Elios well and you literally just spend all the time hooking each other into that center well. Like it's
The
such
way
pandemonium.
the way the game was meant to be played,
Exactly.
without a doubt.
Although they did change how his ult works. Now it has to be completed before you descend after you use it.
In
And
that specific version, yes.
yes, in that specific mode. Yes. It's really weird because it used to be in this mode where you just fire it to get out of the hole and then you would land and then you could go. But now you have to be in the air for the whole duration, which is fun because that means custom modes. The creators of these custom modes are going back and like patching stuff to make them better. So in a way, they have like their own patch notes and stuff. I think custom server browsers are so cool. The way that communities can create all these different things. But so far, my favorite modes have all been Ana modes. So we have Ana Paintball, in which case you're all Ana and you're just, I mean, it's one shot, one KO. And it's pretty basic. You get the most points and, all that whatnot. But I don't know, it's just fun with Ana. And then this one that we discovered recently was called Sleep and Yeet, in which case you're all Ana, and the goal is to hit someone with your sleep dart to put them to sleep and make them vulnerable to be picked up and then yeet it off the map.
Yeet.
Let's sleep and yeet. It's so much fun and it's so chaotic. And in that case, your ultimate does prevent you from being slept or yept, yeeted.
Uh,
And Jotun. What is the phrase?
yeah, it's Jotun, I think. I think you had that one right. Yep.
Well, both of them are going on this optionary. Just be like Jotun. See Yelt.
Yes, see Jotun. But yeah, Sleep and Yeet was goofy. Cause like one part about these custom games is we're all usually queued up for them in between matches of the main game. So we might play for 1, 2, 3, 5 minutes, you know, you never really know. You might only be in there for a moment. But some people are only playing that mode. So like we'll go off and we'll play other games for like 30 minutes. And then we come back and we're like, oh, hey, this person's still in here. They're doing a great job, And that person has 64 points while everyone else has like 6. It's real silly.
I think there was a point in time at which we came back into the game and we recognized someone who was there, even though we were gone for like an hour.
Yeah.
But they weren't in first place. So they were there for all that time and they still weren't winning. And we're just like, that's a predicament.
Yikes. Yeah, a while back, Mr. Jerp said once upon a time, he's like, he was looking at somebody's stats who was on his team in competitive or something. And he was like, this person has like 1,000 hours in competitive. How are they only in, gold? And I'm thinking, oh God, please don't look to see that I have 1,000 hours in comp and I am also in gold. Yikes.
I mean, it happens to the best of us,
Well, it
and
certainly
also, it doesn't
happens
help that
to
the
some of
freaking ranked mode in OW2 is like not good anyway.
Oh,
like,
I think
the
it's
way that
fine.
Did they make it better?
I mean, I don't know. Everyone but me seems to think that the matchmaking's bad, but I think it's pretty accurate. I feel like in Overwatch 2, I'm much more likely to go against enemies who I think are at my skill level. Sometimes I'm like, okay, that enemy team was not good. they did not deserve a win. But most of the time, I feel like I'm playing people who are about my level. People have bad games and stuff, but I feel better about the matchmaking now than I did in the original game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wasn't even just talking about the matchmaking. I was just talking about how it determined what rank you were in, Because when it first came out, people were just automatically just being thrown in bronze or silver, regardless of how well they were actually doing in the game during their placements. There
Yeah,
would be
but
people who...
I still think that that's how it should be. I think everyone should start at the bottom, and like maybe you start at bronze 2 instead of bronze 5. But I think starting at the bottom is important because then you have to work your way up. Because in Overwatch 1, everyone started at gold, which meant if you fell all the way down to silver and worked your way up to gold, you were still swimming up a waterfall of new players because every single new player, regardless of their skill level, was put in gold, pretty much. And so I found that very frustrating because it meant you had to work really, really hard to just be considered better than a brand new account, which I did not like. So
yeah, I guess it's a fair point then, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where it is like everybody but me hates it. But I'm here for it because I now feel like when I am up in gold, plat, or diamond, I feel like I'm actually playing against real gold, plat, or diamond players. Before, I'd be in gold and I'd be like, this person is clearly on a Smurf account. They just created their account and they're level 25. And this person's level 25, but they're actually a new player and it's embarrassing. And how are they on the same team? But whatever.
Yay! How do you work?
Yeah. Do you want me to play that clip you've got?
Yeah. Speaking of people who are doing well and making plays and whatnot, I actually got 2 plays of the game myself. I'm really proud of those because especially if I'm playing with like Odie or Fuzzy, it never happens.
Yeah.
So I was really happy because that means I'm doing some shit, y'all.
Oh hell yeah.
So this is my first one. The people that are watching right now in chat, it was with May, and actually this one during the stream because we played this while I was streaming, and during the stream I'd actually called out. I was like, if I don't get play of the game for doing what I just did, I'm uninstalling the game. And then like 2 seconds later, of course, the play of the game happened, and it was moi. So it was moi on May. And then this next one is actually really surprising to me because I hardly ever get play of the game as Moira, just because, I mean, getting play of the game as support characters, even if you are one who can deal out a lot of damage, is just difficult, especially when someone else could just press Q and rob that of you, Diva,
Reaper, or Junkrat.
Junkrat, soldier. So I don't know, it made me really happy. It was a proud moment for me.
Yeah. It was a good time.
Odie.
Yeah.
Odie says, well, now I have to keep playing the game, I guess. Well, that's exactly what Cram said, too, because I said, I'm uninstalling if I don't get play the game. And then after I got play the game with May, Cram was like, well, I guess you have to play for 1,000 more hours now.
We all know Cram's an enabler on that, so...
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I did kind of walk into it myself.
Well, it's the running joke that Cram's always like, I can't play Overwatch, it's bad for my health. And then Doppelgamer's like, yo, so you still playing Overwatch? And he's like, look, everyone has their vices.
I love those too. Please go check them out on Twitch, twitch.tv/demoduo. They are so They're so good together.
Yeah, they're wonderful. Okay, well, that's what we've been playing. Lots of stuff, as always. Pretty widespread of a bunch of things. I mean, if Chris was here, he'd be talking about Atomic Heart, which he has played on stream and had thoughts on. What we've been playing each week is an attempt for you to hopefully you'll walk away with at least one game that you found interesting here. I mean, I think we talked about like 7 different games here, something like that. Hopefully you found something you liked, and if you do pick up something as a result of the show, let us know. We'd love to hear that. But enough with what we've been playing. Tonight's party topic. Actually, I should ask you guys: are you guys good to keep going? Do you need to take a break or anything?
I'm good to go.
Huh?
Yeah.
All good.
Cool. Then this week's party topic is sound. What is it? Sound ambience, immersion, all that good stuff. The sounds that make the experience of a game really meaningful to the player, right? So not just soundtracks, which we've talked about before. There are lots of great soundtracks to accompany lots of games, but some games like I showed Lonely Mountain Downhill earlier. That game has no music at all. It only has the sounds of wind and your bike and wiping out every 10 seconds. And a game like that is really good for putting you in this space of whatever the game is trying to create. So in Lonely Mountain Downhill, all you hear is the wind blowing in your hair. In Sons of the Forest, you hear the sounds of the forest. In Pentiment, you hear animal sounds. But when you say it like that, it all sounds very simple. Yeah, plenty of games have sounds like that. So what's the big deal? So we want to tell you what the big deal is. So we've each got some of these titles lined up, but I might just start with the one that we played on stream that we'll pick up here again soon. That is Pentiment. Pentiment is a game that takes place in the 1500s in Europe somewhere, where the entire game is just text. There is only the sound of the characters making like walking around noises, but then everything else is like the sound of the windmill behind you, the sound of the pigs, the sound of people cooking and cleaning and opening and closing books and all these things. Even the closest thing you get to music in Pentiment is the guy in the church that we found. We ended stream on it a couple times, who is just singing. He's singing alone in the church, and it sounds like something you'd really hear a monk singing. And the interesting thing about that, since this is a game with no voices, because the voices in the game are us, the players, because we have 7 of us voicing all like 60 plus of these characters. That means that for everyone playing at home, the only sounds you're hearing at all are those ambient sounds for the whole entire game. And so they've got to be good. A game like that can't have bad sound if there are no words. Imagine if Metroid Prime just had bad sound. Imagine if the music was not good and the sounds of the environment as you're walking around were just not good. It would be boring. It'd be kind of scary, maybe. It'd be creepy walking around this world that doesn't feel lived in at all. Given that world doesn't feel lived in, actually, and that's on purpose. But it would feel like it's unfinished, I think. So, looking at some of these games that do a really good job, with Pentiment, we even made jokes about what was it? We saw one of the pigs back on the farm, and we started singing the "If I Was a Young Warthog," and it's those moments, like, because the game gives you room to fill it with your imagination, even that often does a better job of creating this atmosphere than the game would do if they actually put something there. So, like, Pentiment doesn't have music, and I think it would actually be worse if it did. Because then when you do have something special, like that monk singing in the choir, it really stands out. Because in a world like that in the 1500s, there's not just music playing everywhere. Everything smells like poop. And, you just got to pretend it doesn't. But using the sounds like that, fortunately, we can't smell the poop through the speakers. But you probably can hear things pooping. I bet if we listened closely enough. But you know what? Whatever. I'm getting off track here. I think that game just does a really good job of allowing you to pause and sit back, kind of like that moment we showed in Lonely Mountain Downhill, where I just sit on the tree. I just sit there and take a break. That allows you as the player to just chill out. and exist in that moment. It's not the game isn't expecting anything from you. It's like it's creating a painting, and you get to live inside of it. Um, so that's some stuff I liked about Pentiment. I don't know if you guys had any more words there for that title specifically, but I was just blown away by not just the sound. I mean, there's so much about Pentiment that I really enjoy. How they create that world and make it feel real. Visually, it does a ton of stuff, but yeah, that sound I liked it because it's like in music they say the silence is as important as the notes, which is true. And I feel like in games like this, the choice to not put music in and only put ambience, um, when it's done well, it fundamentally changes what that game is. And I think Pentiment nails it. I think Lonely Mountain Hill. I wish it had maybe a radio you could turn on your bike or something. Just because every once in a while I'm like, okay, it's a little too quiet because now you can only hear me crashing into these cacti. Uh, but I think it's really good doing what that does.
I
I
mean,
kind
that's
of wonder how they like captured the sound. Like Foley artists are really good at like recreating sounds and stuff. But I feel like this is every time we've commented on the sound, it's because we hear something so authentic that it has to have been recorded from like the real counterpart. So like I feel like for all the pig sounds and my sounds and the like all the animals, they had to have like literally just squeezed a pig to get it to oink or something into the microphone, and like that's what we hear because
Come on, pig,
it's so
oink,
nice.
oink.
It literally sounds like we're like in a menagerie or like at the zoo or something like that. I feel like if we had smell-o-vision, like the 90s said we would by this time, we it would be like you said, it would smell like a zoo. We'd smell all the poop and be like the most immersive experience and realistic too because of those sounds.
Yeah,
So
for sure. And I think that one of the whole things why it does that, it's like, hey, you're getting what's basically equates to a visual novel of a story, and we're not going to have all the bells and whistles for you to enjoy like a quote unquote high performance of a game. Like you're not dealing with you know millions more polygons than any other game out there. It's not a technologically advanced sort of thing. So anytime you get just the details just right, it's so special.
yeah. Uh, Vilos, I've got some music queued up here, or not even music. It's the sounds of the forest. Actually, I think I've got that queued up. Maybe skirt. Give me a second. But we talked at length about Sons of the Forest, the wind blowing through the trees. It was like a only slightly less dramatic version of In The Witcher. Anyone who's played that game, and Geralt is like, "Ooh, wind's howling," and the trees are like about to snap because they're almost 90 degrees turned, with the wind blowing so hard. This is a slightly less dramatic version of that, but because it's a survival game, I think the fact that you feel like when that wind blows or when the rain is pouring, you feel like you should take cover, or like it starts getting dark and you hear nighttime sounds and you're like, I want to go to bed. This is kind of spooky. Or like one time we were way away from camp and we were near a cave and we didn't intend on going into the cave yet, but that sun went down and it was dark. So we were like, we're going in the cave because no way are we staying out here, But all of that is made. That fear that's put into us is in part from that sound, the sounds of the world, where it's like, oh, suddenly, like I listen to a bunch of horror podcasts, and one of the things whenever people are like in the woods is when there are plenty of noises, that means it's good, but when the forest is quiet, that means there's a predator nearby. So the game kind of does that, where it's like when you stop hearing sounds, that's kind of when it's the spookiest, because those spooky cannibals are out.
just staring at you menacingly.
Right.
Oh, and they will like, especially watching watching Demo do a stream of it on Tuesday. It was pretty like Cram was absolutely paranoid that he was gonna die, and he's like, "No, they see me. Somebody sees me," because there's a little eye icon, and every time it showed up, like he would stop, and it was very obviously on his mind. Um, but yeah, if you got that video ready,
I sure
um,
do.
it was
I feel
just
like
a
moments like that are very like every time something intense like that happens and I got to get like braced for it. I always like mentally do like the caveman SpongeBob, like the whoo,
Let's see. So I got the music going now. I'll get the video up here just so you can see what it is that we're listening to. But this is footage of Vilos just walking around up on the mountain. What the heck? Who is that? Is that Kelvin?
Yeah, I had never seen that because I wasn't the first person to find him. So this is the actual cutscene that you're supposed to see, I guess.
That's not Kelvin. That's Pete Davidson.
Now that you say that.
Yeah. And so this is actually, once I get done with the cutscene, I just fooled around to get mostly the water sounds and the brush sounds, but it is one of those things where this game has such good detail, and it's really fantastic if you're listening to stuff on headphones, that you're not just enjoying your surroundings, you're not just feeling the environment, but you actually can navigate with it, and that's the coolest part of it, because you've got this massive bunch of connected streams that go to rivers, that go to the ocean. Like, if you truly get lost, if you, for example, decided that, let's all play no GPS or something, you could maneuver your way through this entire island just by sounds. You can get used to it. You can actually figure that kind of stuff out. But this game has such a high level of realism in a lot of things. You hear every one of these things that you're picking up and stuff like that. But the footsteps in snow, it's so satisfying. You can drag stuff in snow and it sounds different. It's really amazing. But the sound of a babbling brook is just like chef's kiss. Just outstanding.
What's funny is when it starts to... Well, I think in the game that we discovered winter, it's unclear if this game really has seasons, but, I mean, most survival games do, so it started snowing. Wow, this person just fell off the cliff. It started snowing, and now there's like a frost meter, so actually if you step in water, you will immediately become chilled, and your stamina bar gets really ripped. So it can actually become nice to hear where the water is exactly, so you can avoid it. Because if you step in it, you'll have to find a campfire to warm yourself up. But another sound in this was like when all of us were base building, I loved hearing the sound of trees coming down. You'd hear that crack of like, oh, a tree's about to fall, and you'd turn to look where it was. Because you could hear where it was, and then you'd turn and you'd see it, and there's your buddy. But those just background noises of having other players around you felt really nice. Because the building makes sound, your campfire burning makes sound. I don't know if there's... What makes noise in our game so far? The trailer showed that you can like unlock guns and stuff. I mean, Vilos, you found a gun, technically.
Oh, yeah. I used it, too. I used all of the bullets that I did not mean to use.
Vilos goes, this gun doesn't have any ammo listed, so maybe it's unlimited. And as I've retold this joke like 6 times now, I was like, it's like, there's no price tag. It must mean it's free.
It literally didn't, though. There was nothing telling me, like, what the hell. There was no way for me to craft or anything, and I found that apparently it's just, like, having a basic ammo box.
Oh, is that right?
And the box just empties. Like, there were literally no numbers that I could see. Like, I think Doppel on their stream said it has 4 bullets. I shot about a dozen times. I shot more than 1 clip worth. So I don't know what the deal was. I still don't know for sure. But yeah, the really cool thing is like right here, when you swim underwater, there's a very different feel, as there should be. Like, just play this game with headphones. You're gonna feel so many things. It's really great, and of course, if you walk into the wrong spot, you'll know that there's a cannibal camp around, because you'll hear the little whoops and hollers and growls.
Oh my gosh, dude!
Dozens of different sounds from these enemies.
They scream. You'll think you're alone because you'll look around and you won't see anything, and then you'll hear like a blood-curdling scream, and everybody's suddenly on high alert. And like the cannibals will usually stalk you before they let you know they're there. So like some of them will climb up. They'll like jump on the trees and stuff. So they'll just be up. Lol, there's the end of the video. Uh, they'll just be up on the trees and on top of like high rocks and stuff. And yeah, then they'll like call out to you, and it's terrifying, you know. But once again, it's all very directional. So having headphones in this game really hits the spot. Can you tell we like Sons of the Forest? It's pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are making a really compelling case for me to get in there, and and then I keep hearing things like, "Oh yeah, the cannibals are super heckin' scary, and you'll
It's
have
not
nightmares
that
about
scary.
them
No,
for
it's
the
You
next
gotta
1,000
remember
years
that
and 7 generations." And I'm like,
you gotta remember that he's a weenie.
Well, so am
I
I.
like to be scared. I like to be scared.
I don't like to be scared.
Um,
Look, listen. Okay, here. I'll make you a compromise. If I do play this game, we can never experience nighttime while I'm online.
okay, I mean that's kind of what our goal was actually.
Yeah.
Like no kidding, when we went into our stream, our ground rules were we're going to use in-game chat only, which once we found out how limiting the in-game chat was, we used the walkies for global chat, and we used Discord for proximity chat, which went really well actually. And our only other rule was when nighttime comes around, we're sleeping. We're not working through the night. We're not doing any of that. We're going to bed. Which with all 8 of you, you all have to be on the same page, because if even one person isn't sleeping, then no one sleeps.
I kind of like how that works though too, where you just fast travel too, because it's like everyone's going to sleep and the cannibals are just like, oh, they're sleeping, can't eat them.
Them's the rules. Yeah, because
They're just like watching from afar, like, oh man.
well, you go to sleep and they're like 5 feet from you. It's not like Oblivion or something where it's like you can't sleep, there are enemies nearby. Nope, doesn't matter. You can hear them. They're 5 feet away, and yeah, they'll leave you alone. If you can't see them, they can't hurt you. I don't know.
Maybe it's like the blanket technique that they all taught us when they were little. If there's a monster in the room, just hide under your blanket. It's no longer there.
Yeah.
Although, like, yeah, we would not be able to do cave stuff with you around. That's just not gonna happen.
Oh, we can. I mean, we've got like 4 people. Every time we go in, it's like one person's got a flashlight, 2 people have torches. It's easy to see. I mean, with
So I'm
4
just
people.
carrying around the torch like the whole time, just being the one guiding light.
I
Oh
think
no, I'm not going to be the guiding light because that means I unfriend, which means I'll get to experience whatever's happening in the darkness first. No, I'm gonna be in the back. No, I'm gonna be in the middle. I'm gonna need a flashlight at the front and at my back.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the way to do it.
I'm gonna have my backpack open at all times. That melody is gonna be shining like the night sky. Okay.
You know, we did at one point, we went into the cave, so kind of by accident. During our session, we were split up most of the time. And then near the end, we were like, hey, you know, we're going to try to come to you guys, Vilos and crew. We're going to try to come to you guys and sync up. Well, as we got closer, we realized they were way underground. And the game, the caves that you go into, they're not like instanced. You know, you don't like go into a loading screen to access them.
So not like Valheim's then.
Correct. So you do like you hold E to like enter the cave and you like sidle through, but that part of the cave still exists in the 3D world that they've created. So you're not just magically somewhere else. So I could go to where they were, but by the time I got there, I was like, oh, you guys are way below me. You must be in a cave. So we look around. We finally find the entrance to the cave. Well, we ended up walking through this cave for almost 30 minutes, and at first we didn't realize that it was the same cave that they were in, because the cave was so big that we thought they must be 2 different caves. So we walked through this and we didn't see a single enemy almost the whole time for almost 30 minutes, which is unusual. And we're like, hey, were there any enemies in this cave? And you guys were like, yeah, there were.
Yeah,
Why do you think there aren't now? You know, and like, okay. But at one point we went in, and I'm gonna maybe scare you a little, Sav. This is why you got to be in the middle of the pack. But we, you know, at this point, after we discovered that all the enemies had been wiped out, I got pretty relaxed, right? I'm just like, there's nothing in here. This whole place is cleared out. No big deal. Anyway, I'm gonna turn my torch off, and I'm gonna go up here, and there were these cannibal babies. They were terrifying, and they cried, and it was very spooky. They were vicious. They were not normal babies and deserved no sympathy.
Okay, first of all, cannibals are just, you know, abhorrent to begin with, but children.
That's what I said. I mean, that's almost exactly what I said.
We found completely different things in the cave that we had not seen outside of the cave. So.
Yeah. And so like that was going on, but like at first, like the first thing I thought I saw something out of the corner of my eye, but then I heard it to the side. Like I thought I saw something zip by, and I was like, I think I even said it was like, oh, it must have been the wind, you know. And then like next to me, I hear this like baby screech thing, and then I got hit. And whew, man, they did a good job of spooking me there. But like I said, I
So
like to be spooked.
is this like on Steam early access or Game Pass like early stuff?
Steam early access.
Steam, okay. And it's how much?
30. I would give you the game if that's too much. I would buy you the game because it'd
Oh,
be
you don't
worth
do all
it.
that. I'm still thinking about whether or not I want to play.
Well,
But
at
you
least
guys
gotta
will
watch
be the
tomorrow.
first to find out if I've made my decision.
hell
You,
yeah.
you gotta watch somebody's stream tomorrow night then.
Yeah, tune into Odysseus. It'll be a good time. Um, what else have we got on here? We covered. I will stop. We could bounce back to you because we covered Sons of the Forest and Pentiment. Yeah, we could bounce to Sav and then we'll come back for the clip that you've got here, Vilos.
Yeah. So, like, you were talking about how sound and ambience and stuff can up the atmosphere of like survival games. I think it's the same could be said of like life sim or like slice of life stuff. So, an example that I have down here right now is Animal Crossing. You know, even though there is some very like light, peaceful music playing alongside in the background, the world around you still has these other ambient sounds. Like you can hear bugs skitter scattering around. You can actually use sound to find out if there's like a balloon or a UFO or something in the air.
What
And
are
if
they
you go
just really
stand,
loud UFOs?
well, they make like the oscillating, like the whew, 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 whew,
Mhm.
sound flying, but they only come at night. So, I mean, hey. Also, speaking of nighttime sounds, you can use the sounds to find out when there are going to be shooting stars on your island. You can hear them before you see them. And those can actually get you some like really nice and rare items.
I didn't know that. I mean, I knew of the shooting stars. I didn't know you could hear for them.
Mhm. They do like a little twinkle and a pew.
It's
So
still like extremely fast, and you have to be ready.
yeah,
But
because
it's
you
cool.
you got to make them wishes, but you got to make them quick.
You know, it's like at Stardew Valley. They're like, choo choo! Oh, the train's in town. And if you don't drop whatever you're doing that moment, you will miss the train. So everybody's just like, get over there! At least one of us has got to get over there. Maybe it's like that on your Animal Crossing island, right? Like very panicked, the way the Animal Crossing is supposed to be. If I got that right.
Exactly. You know, the shooting stars are actually, if you don't wish on them, they turn into meteors and they destroy your island. So you got
You better wish.
you
That'd
better
be
wish
great.
on them stars. Wish away that for protection. But one of my favorite things about the sound in Animal Crossing is that if you go to the beach, if you stand anywhere near a shoreline at all, and this actually happens while you're standing near any body of water, and you're fishing, the music will actually quiet itself. And so it'll
That's
like fade
cool.
out to like quiet, and you can hear like the babbling of the brooks. You can hear the plopping around of the fish. You can hear like the ocean crashing against the shore. And it's just really, really nice. I've actually fallen asleep to that a couple of times when I was playing, like back when it first came out. And things like rain are just so cathartic. Like if you like thunderstorms in real life, you need to listen to an Animal Crossing thunderstorm because I don't know what they did. I don't know if they did like the satellite, the spy gear thing where they have that little satellite dish and they held it up to a thunderstorm or whatever, but it is just so.
They're like thunderstorm. Okay, now you're on. You're live.
The thunderstorm's like, uh, um, fire.
I typed in. I was like, I wonder what I can find on YouTube if I type in Animal Crossing ambience, and there are just pages and pages of Animal Crossing music with rain ambience tacked on top of it. I mean, I know I have an app on my phone for rain sounds that I go to sleep to sometimes. Uh, as if Seattle doesn't have enough rain, you know.
But they
um,
don't have enough thunder. You were talking about that before earlier. It doesn't
yeah,
thunderstorm a lot there, it just rains.
yeah. Actually, and my app does have like I can do rain or thunder or birds, and there are also other versions I can have like cafe rain or beach rain or forest rain or whatever. I'm no casual rain enthusiast. I'm a serious connoisseur.
Well, different rains like pitter patter on different materials in different like pleasing ways. So yeah, in a manner, yeah, you can be like a rain sommelier.
Yeah. Oh wait. What's the word for that? We gotta find it and add it to the dictionary. But this reminds me. A while back when we had a discussion similar to this about sound, I had mentioned Griftlands, which is a card building combat. I don't know. It's a cool game. By Clay Games, the people who made Don't Starve and Oxygen Not Included. It's a cool game,
Love play.
and they have so much. They technically have music that plays like during certain moments, but my favorite screen on the whole game was the like taverns that you go into. When you go in there, it's not music or anything. It's just the sound of people, making, clearing off dishes or setting down glasses, and the sound of chairs moving as people get in and out of them. I would leave that up on my second monitor while I like fiddled around doing other things, or even while I played Hearthstone, I would do that. And that sound was great because it gives you I mean, it really feels like you're in a tavern. And I'm also the person who has like many dozens of Spotify playlists that are all for like RPGs or D&D. Like, oh, you're walking through the forest and it's raining. Oh, you're walking through a cave and it's spooky. Oh, you're at the gates of the city and it's all cool and shit. It's a really long name for a Spotify playlist. Maybe I should work on that. But I love doing that stuff. And I'd love chat if you guys would send in, anybody who's hearing my voice now. Tell us what stands out for you. Is there something you've ever AFK'd to on purpose, like you just left playing on your TV as you did chores? You cleaned your house, or for me, it's while I'm video editing. I like to put on ambient stuff while I'm doing that because I can't really play music and focus there. What is that to you guys? I'm hope maybe we get to a point in Sons of the Forest where we actually can AFK without getting killed by cannibals.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say AFK to the sounds of like the cannibals in the distance, like whooping and hollering.
Yeah.
We almost did on Saturday or Sunday, whichever day it was. We almost did because I mean, it got really fucking dark, but we made not skin. We could have, but we made skull chairs,
Mm-hmm.
bone chairs, that is, and a couple benches, and we were sitting in the middle of our snowy clearing with our all of our base stuff behind us. Like, we were ready. We had all the food we needed. We had everything we needed, and it was just getting dark. The flames right there, sun
Yeah.
going down.
So
I'm
then you
really,
got out your enemy skulls and you drank some hot chocolate out there in the snow.
as you do, as you do.
We
Um,
did have a beatbox or a stereo, whatever.
When you say beatbox, is it just like a heart that's just beating, over here?
I love
It
that.
really should be.
Like
It's
how in depth does this cannibal theme go for that game? I need to know.
pretty deep, honestly.
But no, the sound of Animal Crossing is just amazing, and even it goes as far as to incorporate that into the music too. So like on rainy days, when you're not standing near bodies of water or whatever, or inside the house, which is amazing if it's raining. The way that it hits the roofs and the different, like if you have a metallic house or a stone house, whatever. The music changes from its like normal instrumentation to like I think it's a glockenspiel, which is my third favorite instrument, by the way.
Oh.
So, it's good the way that they incorporate all this stuff in here. But then conversely, in games that aren't like slices of life or pastoral escapes from realism, which we definitely need now more than ever, um, you know, FPSs are really good at creating ambient sound. And I know you think FPSs, of course, it's going to be like artillery fire and all the gunshots and people dying and all that
I
stuff. But
need a medic.
if you put all that aside, some of the games that come to mind when it comes to things like that are Leap, which we talked about earlier, and Splitgate, and even Apex Legends. If you somehow find a quiet pocket of somewhere to like chill, you can hear. Of course, you can hear like the footsteps of your teammates and everything, which sounds nice with the crunching of the grass and whatnot. But then, in the particular case of games like Leap or even battle royale games like The Cycle or Crucible, um, where there's like a lot of like lush vegetation or like biome life or like, you know, animals of whatever origin in the distance, you can hear them. And so even though you're like in this battle torn fracas, trying to fight for your life and everything, it's still, it's pretty nice. You got the birds, you got the bees,
You're
you
chilling.
got the bullet, the three Bs.
The three Bs.
The three Bs of FPSs: birds, bees, and bullets. And so when you think of like games like that have ambient atmosphere, you don't really think of high octane, super action packed games because that stuff is usually, even though it exists, it's not at the forefront of what people are going to be listening for. Usually people listen for, you know, locations and call outs of the enemies by way of their footsteps or even whatever they're doing, be it shooting or using an ability. Each thing will have their own little soundtrack that you can be like, oh, they're doing this thing, and you go over there. But when you get the moment to relax, or if you're like repositioning or whatever, take some time, and don't smell the flowers because you'll be standing still and you get headshot. But maybe pick some and take them with you, and also listen to what you can, because there's some really cool ambient sounds out there in high action games.
Yeah, there are. Well, let's bounce back to wrap this up. Vilos, you got one more. I mean, I think that's everything, right, Sav? That you got here? I don't
Yeah.
want to cut you off early.
Oh no, you're fine. The only other thing I was going to mention was, and this was a really quick one anyway, was that even games that don't have anything to do with sound or like increasing it at all, that have them, like Pokemon, for instance, have ambient sound. Since the Game Boy Advance days, anyway, you can actually hear Pokemon calling to themselves in the distance. So it's like, if you're unsure of if a Pokemon's in this area, after you've checked your Pokedex like 100 times and you still haven't seen one yet, which happens because probability doesn't exist in Pokemon, it's just always against you. The house always wins. You can know it's there because it'll be calling out at you, mockingly, because you know it's there now because you heard it and you can never ever find it. Looking at you, Pikachu, in Viridian Forest. Looking at you.
Yeah, they say it's there, but I don't know. My brochure's not accurate. Well, then to wrap it up, Vilos, let's bounce back to one of your favorites that you've talked about a lot here on the show before.
Yeah, and we've talked about we talked about the gamut as to why this game has really great ambience, but it's really just needs to be heard. This clip has a little bit of it, but Card Shark is really great at what we know from Pentiment. It's putting you in a setting that we don't know firsthand, right? It's a historical account. We were never around to hear it, um, and it just sets up its world so perfectly. And sound is a very big part of that. Not only do you have an accurate portrayal of card shuffling throughout the game, but like right here, you're clearly in a bathhouse, a really old bathhouse. You hear the old wooden chairs. You hear the squeaky floor.
Yeah,
And
let me actually back this up. I'm gonna turn this up louder than I had the Sons of the Forest stuff, so you can really hear that.
and a lot of the times in this game, the music is usually diegetic, so you'll usually see the instruments actually on screen.
That's cool. Diegetic. That is a term I need to remember because I used like 20 words to describe what diegetic means. Yeah, because I mean this really puts you in it.
Like you heard him scooch the chair like so accurately. It's so good. There's just a high level of detail in a game that like you look at it and you're like, is this a comic book? Like what?
Right.
What is this? The art style is different. The whole narrative is
And
wild.
there's something really to be said about like you, the player, hearing what the character would be hearing. You know, because there's even I like listening to behind the scenes stuff in podcasts and all of these to kind of hear like, why did you make this decision? How did you do this? You know, make this possible. Whether it's like the Foley sounds or whatever else. And some podcasts they'll be like, you know, so in horror podcasts, which I mentioned I love, it's my favorite genre of podcast. There's so many different ways to tell a story. Sometimes there's a full production with music. Sometimes there's no music but full production. Sometimes there's none of that and only voices. And lots of people have very strong opinions on which one of those they prefer. They'll only consume one type and not the other. And so I'd like to hear the behind the scenes of some of those shows to hear why they made the decision to make it a certain way. And so the Magnus Archives is a horror anthology that technically ended. There's like a sequel podcast coming out, but they'd have these behind the scenes ones where the whole thing is like you're hearing testimonials of you know, spooky stories, whatever, spooky experiences. It's all fiction. And they said in like one of their episodes, letters to the editors or whatever, somebody was like, hey, so the like light music and kind of ambient sounds that we hear during the episode, like during the story itself, do the characters hear that? And I hadn't really thought of that because in my head I was like, no, it's a podcast. The protagonists in this story, they don't hear that, but it's a podcast, so we hear that, and that's as simple as the answer is. It's, you know, what else is there to say? And the creators of this show unpacked this, and they were like, you're the first person to actually ask that, but we have spent hours talking about whether or not that's true, because they were trying to come up with if they wanted to make a reason for the characters in this fiction to be hearing that noise, and they decided that they wanted to go for the minimalist approach, so that any noise, even ambient noise, or diegetic sound. What is it? What would you say? Diegetic music?
Mm,
Diegetic diegetic specifically means if something is producing a sound and is on screen.
Right.
So, like in the instance of like a good example of that would be like in The Last of Us, they do that a lot. So, like we'll be hearing like a theme song play, and then the scene will switch, and it's like Ellie listening to a Walkman or something like that, and
Yeah.
that's why we hear that song.
Yeah. And so they essentially wanted to do that so that any time that music, or that ambience or whatever it was, came up, that you knew that had context in the fiction as it was happening. And I just found that so fascinating that, like, for me, it was a simple question with a simple answer, and that was it. But to them, they were like, man, we have spent a long time figuring out exactly how we wanted to produce the specific vibes that we wanted. And it just hadn't occurred to me that so much thought, that it wasn't so simple, basically. So yeah, with stuff like that, it's like, when they nail it, like, I'm gonna play this card shark music one more time. Um, there's no accident about it. Um, they went into this trying to make a specific thing, and they said the best way to do that is to make it sound like what the characters would actually hear in that context. No external licensed music or even original music, but just the sounds that you would actually hear in that moment. Big fan.
And it is another game that you'll want to AFK to, because you can just stop the dialogue from proceeding. And there's a couple bits where you're like at you're at like it's a specific kind of camp. I forget what they called them, but like a little community camp,
Oh,
um,
like the
where like all the vagabonds and stuff would
like the
be.
Khajiit hangout outside the city walls.
Yeah, like a lot of like poor people, performers, homeless. Like
Khajiit,
there's
yeah,
all
I already said
spots.
that.
And there's also there's a couple scenes in the game where you're in like a market that is bustling, and you'll hear the clops of the hooves, and little change sounds of people making transactions. Like, so good.
Then you play a game like Carrion, and you're like, man, I sure wish there were sounds that weren't just like squelching and.
But we love squelching here.
I was about to say, I don't know, that seems like, kind of up some people's alleys around here. It's definitely on the bingo card.
That's definitely on the bingo card. Well, yeah, well, we're always on the lookout for stuff like this. I know this is something that we tend to talk about a lot, not just in this community, but I mean the three of us, especially. I love not only seeing this in action, but kind of hearing like how the production came to be. In that sense, I wanted to see more about these Foley sounds. Now I'm like, now I want to. Now I want somebody to make like a whole YouTube channel that's just, like a documentary style thing that just goes to game developers and asks them how they recorded their sounds.
There are a lot of Foley channels actually for movies. I don't know about games, but yeah,
Foley
Foley.
channels that are not ASMR, just, actually educational and things like that. Although Foley ASMR does sound like an untapped market.
Well, to me, I think that was actually the first version of ASMR that I ever knew of. In fact, I took a class years ago where the first thing the professor told us in this class, like the first day, was this story about how this guy was trying to record sounds of a river with no human sounds at all, and it needed to be like at least a 1 hour cut with no breaks, no editing. That's what he was paid to do. And it took him like a month to get this recording, because every time, like 20, 40 minutes into the recording, there'd be like a plane flying way, 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 way up in the sky that it would pick up or something. And so for him, he was like, it was maddening for this guy because he just couldn't find a place. He found the most isolated places he could think of, and he still couldn't get away from human noises. So like that untapped, that untouched, like uh, only nature sound was way harder to come by than he expected. even going out in the middle of nowhere. But that story always stuck with me because it's the idea of like to get a pure sound like that is much more difficult than you think because there's so much sound pollution everywhere. That's a normal part of our life, so we don't really hear it. We filter it out, right? But when your job is to find specifically that thing, that's really tough. But yeah, for me, that was the first time I ever heard the term ASMR. Actually, was in the context of that story. But yeah, I can't wait to find more games to AFK to. you know, more games to load up and then walk away from.
Here's to Sons of the Forest being the next one.
Yep.
Never actually play again.
Well, perfect. Well, chat, if there are games that we missed that should be on this list, anything that stuck out to you recently or in the distant past, let us know. I always love, learning more about these stories and the different things that really stick with different people. But I think that's going to be it for our show here. In the spirit of the ambiance, Vilos is going to play. Vilos, what is it?
Und.
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 It's better when Vilos says it, not when I say it. We're gonna. He's gonna play Und, and we're gonna watch him. But that game is a rhythm game. I'm using rhythm in quotations. I've watched the trailer like 3 times, and I still don't really understand what's going on. But I saw in a review that the game does seem to do a good job of introducing those mechanics. Now that I'm saying this out loud, Vilos, could we dredge up here soon? Could we find that review that you did for it and repost that maybe? Cool.
Maybe.
Actually, if you found that while we loaded this up in the break, I'd love to be able to chat about that during the stream. But that's going to do it for the Vodcast, which you can find the video version of on YouTube and Spotify. We'll be back next week on Thursday. We'll also be here on Monday, and you can catch Sov on their channel, twitch.tv/SovereignSyd. That's Sovereign SYD. What else am I missing here? Yeah, join our Discord, yada, yada, yada. And I think that's the show. So stick around. We'll take a short break, and we'll see you again very soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Ambiently.
Ambiently.